In this video I'm going to explain 2013 zombie action thriller movie, titled World War Z. Spoilers ahead. The movie opens in a suburban house. Two kids enter their parents' room and jump on their bed. Gerry, the father, makes pancakes for his daughters, and his wife Karen asks Rachel if she packed her inhaler. He watches the news, where one government has declared martial law. Connie asks if he was in places like that with his old job. Gerry says that he was, but he quit so that he could be with them. They got stuck in traffic while on their way to the school, and in that meantime Gerry tries to solve their daughter's riddle. Karen wonders about the number of helicopters in the air. Gerry turns on the radio and learns about an outbreak of rabies that started in Taiwan and has spread to other 12 countries. Suddenly, a police motorcycle breaks the side view mirror, and Gerry gets out to pick it up and see what's happening. Suddenly, an explosion happens at a distance. A cop on a motorbike orders him to get in the car. Just then a truck rams into him and continues to smash everything on its way. Gerry drives behind it, thinking it's their way out. It crashes into another truck and overturns, but Gerry keeps driving in between that chaos. He turns around to tell Rachel to put her seatbelt on, and an ambulance hits their car. Everyone is safe, and Gerry takes Connie and Rachel out of the car. The zombies start chasing people and attacking them fiercely. Gerry sees a zombie woman smashes through the windshield of a car to get to the people inside. She bites a man, and he turns into a zombie in seconds. Gerry sees a motorhome and runs toward it. He gets his family into a motorhome as the zombies savagely attacking the people on the street. A zombie jumps towards Gerry to attack him and hangs to the vehicle. Karen kicks him away. Gerry rides furiously through the streets as zombies keep attacking the vehicle. They eventually get to a road outside of the city. Rachel has trouble breathing, and she left her inhaler in their car. Karen tries to calm her down and checks her backpack for a spare inhaler, and Gerry stops the vehicle to sit with Rachel. Karen doesn't find the medicine. She wants to start the motorhome as they need to find a drugstore. Gerry's get a call from a former colleague, Thierry. He tells him they barely made it out, and that he doesn't know what happened either. Meanwhile, Connie finds a shotgun. Gerry quickly takes it away from her, and Karen gets the vehicle moving. Thierry asks for Gerry's location to get a chopper to them, and will call back with an extraction point in an hour. Before he hangs up, he tells Gerry that he'll need him back on the job. They arrive in Newark and head to the store that people have already stormed. Gerry takes Rachel to find the medicine while Karen goes to get some food. In the drugstore, they run into a guy with a gun who asks them what they need. He gives the medicine to Gerry, along with something else that might help. Suddenly, Gerry hears Connie screaming and rolling by herself in a cart. They get to her and find Karen is being attacked. Gerry goes after her, but one of them starts shooting. He shoots back and gets one of them. A police officer runs in, and Gerry puts his hands up, but he just goes to get the groceries. The family gets out of the store and finds the motorhome is missing. Karen points at the apartments and head towards it. Gerry calls Thierry to tell him their location, but he says that he can get a chopper to them earliest at sunrise. Gerry tells him they will be on the roof of an apartment building with flares. They get to the building, and zombies chase after them. They get inside the building and secure the door. As they run up the stairs, the zombies break through the door and follow them. In that chaos, they lose Connie and go searching for her throughout the apartments. They find her in front of an open door with another family inside. Gerry gets them inside and they get relaxed for a bit. They are a Spanish family, and Gerry communicates through their son, Thomas. He finds a radio and listens to emergency broadcast, which alerts that everyone should stay indoors, as the virus has spread across the state. Gerry wakes up from a nightmare and hears something outside. He talks to that family, and tells them they have a better chance to survive if they come with them. The father turned down Gerry's offer. Gerry and his family leave the apartment. Meanwhile, Thomas's family argues about going with them since the zombies are at their door. Gerry hears the zombies in the building and runs towards the roof. Suddenly a zombie attacks Gerry and he shoots it. Hearing that sound, more zombies run towards them. They run upstairs with zombies chasing them behind. Gerry takes down a few of them. When a zombie is about to bite him, Thomas shows up and kills that zombie. Meanwhile, the chopper approaches the building, but they couldn't spot them. Karen and the girls get to the roof and Karen lights the flares. The chopper sees them. Gerry comes to the roof with Thomas but gets away from them to see if he'll turn into a zombie, as he got its blood in his mouth. He takes a moment, and he is fine, but hears the zombies at the door and runs to hold it down. The chopper lands, Karen and the kids get on it. A soldier covers Gerry's back so he can get to the chopper. The zombies who run towards the helicopter fall off the building. The chopper lands on a UN ship in the Atlantic Ocean. Thierry receives them upon arrival, and takes them to their bunks. Gerry informs him that all the major cities around the globe got hit by the epidemic. They get to a command station, where a research team is analyzing the worldwide outbreak. Dr. Fastbach thinks that once they find the origin of the virus, they could create a vaccine. Gerry calls Fastbach their best shot to figure out what the virus is, and the word zombie was first used in a memo from South Korea. They are sending the doctor there to look for the source. Suddenly, a general walks in and heads straight for Gerry. He wants to send Gerry to South Korea to assist Fastbach, since he was Gerry's best investigator. Gerry says no since he can't leave his family. The general can't convince him, so he threatens him that if doesn't work with them, they will evict his family from the ship. Gerry explains their situation to Karen. He gives her a phone and tells he will call her once a day. Gerry promises that he'll come back, then says goodbye to his daughters and to Thomas. Gerry's plane takes off. He tells Fastbach that he needs to follow the soldiers' orders and call them out for anything he sees as important so they can make it happen. Fastbach thinks that they'll find something there and says that sometimes what might seem like the most brutal aspect of the virus turns out to be its weakness. The airplane lands in South Korea even though no one responds from the base. The hatch opens and the team moves out slowly. They stop after hearing something. Suddenly, the zombies come from the dark and attack. Fastbach gets scared and runs back to the plane, slips and accidentally shoots himself and dies. The surviving American soldiers at the camp rescue the team and gets them to the base. Once inside, the soldiers from the base ask them why they're there. Gerry tells them about Fastbach, as he was their best hope to find a solution from the virus. Then the pilot asks about refueling. Captain Speak explains to Gerry they got to be careful because the zombies are drawn to noise. He tells them that body shots only slow them down, headshots are the ones does the trick, but they also burn the bodies when they can. He asks Gerry what he'll do since Fastbach is dead. Gerry explains the memo with the word zombie. They take him to a room with burned bodies of soldiers, who were trying to detain the doctor, and he bit all of them. The doctor got the virus after a disappeared soldier bitten him while treating. The doctor passed the virus to all of his patients. Unfortunately, the documents with which Gerry could track the soldier were also destroyed in the fire. Speak tells him that one of his men didn't get attacked by the zombies, even though he was right in the middle of them. Gerry sees a former CIA agent in holding and talks to him. He had been selling guns to North Korea, but he tells Gerry that guns are only half measures. He says that Israel is the only country winning the war by building an entire wall around Jerusalem, and he tells Gerry who to find there. Later, Gerry tells his pilot that they are going to Jerusalem. The soldiers prepare Gerry and his team to get on the plane. Speak explains his strategy to refueling the plane. Gerry and his team ride to the plane on bikes, and the soldiers surround the base with snipers to give cover. Speak tells them over the radio that they have to be quiet and get to the plane before he can bring in the fuel truck. Suddenly, Gerry gets a call from Karen, and his ringtone wakes the zombies. The snipers proceed to take out zombies on their tail, and Speak takes down a group of them with the fuel truck. Speak begins refueling the plane. As Gerry reaches to the plane, a zombie attacks him. Speak saves him but gets bitten himself. As Gerry is being taken on board, Speak tells his men that he'll kill himself before he turns zombie. Gerry sees him do it from the plane. One of his team walks out to detach the fuel line as Gerry gets in the cockpit, locking the door behind him so the zombies don't come in. When they lift off, they fall out of the back of the plane. Gerry calls Karen and tells her he is going to Israel. Suddenly there's an explosion, and it dropped the call. The airplane approaches Jerusalem, and they ask for the Mossad agent and they get granted access. Gerry tells his pilot to stay with the plane. Then he's taken with a convoy to the Mossad chief, Jurgen Warmbrunn. He tells Gerry that human nature not to believe something can happen until it already has. Gerry asks him how Israel knew. Warmbrunn tells him they had intercepted Indian military transmissions, describing troops fighting zombies. Gerry doesn't think that convinced the veteran agent. Warmbrunn explains that in the 70s they made a strategy in which the 10th man must disagree with the other 9 that arrived at the same conclusion. The 10th man has to dig with the assumption that the other 9 are wrong. Since everyone else assumed that zombies were a cover for something else, being the 10th he had to work under the assumption that it was true. Warmbrunn tells him that there are many potential sources in play, but no one knows where the virus originated. They finally arrive at the wall, through which they let people into the city. People inside celebrate and start singing. As the singing becomes so loud, it drives the zombies to the wall and they climb it. Gerry asks Warmbrunn if he could get into India what he should look for, but he tells Gerry that he can only look for a way to hide. The zombie throng climbs the wall as the celebration continues, but the authorities realize something is wrong. Zombies start falling from the wall and into Jerusalem. Gerry tries to escape with Warmbrunn as the zombies stormed inside. Helicopters pick them off from the outside, but it is not doing any damage to them. Warmbrun tells Gerry that his people will get into his plane. The zombies make their way into the city, and the army can't do much about it. Gerry runs with a crowd and was fiercely chased by zombies. He sees an old man being completely ignored by them. Meanwhile, the pilot of Gerry's plane gets informed the city is breached and that zombies are headed towards the airport. Gerry looks out of a window where a zombie rampages and sees a child being completely avoided by them. As the zombie group attack few soldiers, they activate the grenades, which eliminated the group. Suddenly a zombie attacks a soldier, Segan, and she got bitten. When Gerry sees the bite mark, he cuts off her hand, and the virus can't spread. She loses a hand but doesn't turn into a zombie. The last survivors run toward the chopper that arrived for them, but it gets attacked. Gerry's pilot requests immediate departure, as Gerry approaches the airport. He sees his plane already on air. They stop another departing plane. Only Gerry and Segan enter the plane through the cockpit. The pilots are figuring out where to go and are looking through a map. They finally take off, and Gerry looks down at the city being destroyed by the zombies. He takes some alcohol and gives it to Segan. Gerry then cleans her wound and changes the bandage. He tells her that he didn't know if cutting it off would work. Suddenly, Gerry remembers about Officer Ellis and other people zombies has not attacked. He remembers the fastbox theory, and realizes what they should do and calls Karen, telling her to get Thierry. Gerry tells him he needs to locate a research facility close to him that makes vaccines. Thierry needs to know his location. Gerry bangs on the cockpit door, and hands his phone to the pilot. After the conversation with Thierry, the pilot tells him they will go to Cardiff, where there is a WHO research facility. A dog runs to the back deck, and barks at the elevator. When the stewardess calls the elevator, the dog runs away. She opens it, and a zombie attacks her. Gerry realizes something is wrong, while the stewardess attacks people and makes more zombies. He sees what's happening and tells the passengers to stay quiet. They block out the door with their luggage bags. One passenger drops a bag and draws the attention of zombies. The zombies start attacking them and bite them off. Gerry almost gets bit, but Segan shoots the zombie that's after him. The majority of the passengers are infected. Gerry finds a grenade on Segan's belt and throws in the back of the plane. It ruptures the plane and ejects the zombies. The pilots have to make an emergency landing. Gerry puts the seatbelt on Segan, then himself. A remaining zombie attacks Gerry, as the pilots prepare for impact. The plane breaks upon impact. Later, Gerry wakes up, strapped to his seat, and sees that Segan isn't in hers. He's badly wounded by a piece of shrapnel. Gerry drops from his seat. Suddenly, Segan shows up. They both walk their way up to the WHO facility. Meanwhile, the general on the UN ship is informed that the Cardiff airport lost contact with Gerry's plane. Karen is being called in to talk to Thierry. The general has ordered to kick Karen and the kids off the ship. Back at the facility, Gerry is having nightmares. He wakes up and sees his wound dressed, then notices someone sitting next to him, and asks Gerry who is he. As soon as Gerry wakes up, the man consults with someone else in another room. They both suspect Gerry's identity. They show him the phone, so he says to call it and find out who he is. Thierry is surprised that Gerry is alive and introduces himself to the men. Before they can answer, Gerry asks about Karen, and Thierry tells him what happened. Later, Gerry is out of the restraints and they bring Segan in to see him. They have sent his family to a refugee camp, but Gerry knows that they won't be safe there. The main WHO doctor asks him what he needs from them, then takes him to his team. Gerry asks for their deadliest pathogen with a high mortality rate, to use it against the zombies. They tell him he can't make the undead sick, but Gerry explains his theory to the scientists that the zombies ignore weak, terminally ill, and severely injured people, as they are unsuitable hosts of infection. They could use the pathogen to act as a camouflage. A scientist says that they have all the viruses, but they are all stored in B-Wing that's infested with around 80 zombies. Later, Gerry, Segan, and the WHO doctor are preparing to go to the B-Wing with the vaults and get the virus. Gerry and Segan also get weapons, though the doctors tell them not to kill any zombie, because it makes the rest more aggressive. The three of them walk into the hallway. The lead doctor tells his subordinates to seal the doors for good. From the other wing the doctors watch them. Gerry walks in first, and a light comes on as they stealthily walk through the facility, avoiding the attention from zombies. They arrive at the vaults but there is a zombie down there too, which hears them. Segan shoots her, prompting all the zombies to run toward them. Gerry distracts the zombies so the rest can get to the vault. Most of them get stuck behind a door, but one follows Gerry. He takes it down and other one shows up. Gerry gets it too. Segan and a doctor get to the vaults but run into more zombies. They run and they are being tailed by the zombies. The other doctors open the doors for them even though they are chased by a group of zombies. They can barely hold the door but still close it just in time. Gerry gets to the vault where the viruses are stored. He walks inside and tries to open the door when the phone rings. The doctor tells him the passcode, and Gerry walks inside. He grabs few pathogens that can fit in a box. Suddenly, a zombie appears at the door, and it left Gerry with no other choice but to inject himself with virus. He gives the others a message for his family, prepares one virus, and injects it into his arm. Gerry waits for the virus to take hold while the zombie is still outside of the vault. He opens the door. The zombie walks in, but it doesn't attack him. His theory is proven correct. Gerry drinks a can of soda and releases the cans from the soda machine, to distract the zombies and get them moving in the other direction. He walks back to the main facility without the zombies giving him any trouble. The doctors give him a vaccine, and he leaves the facility with Sagan. Gerry goes to find his family in the refugee camp. All of them are there waiting for him. Meanwhile, his idea gets spread out to the entire world. The WHO comes up with a vaccine that works as camouflage, helping people become invisible to the zombies. It gives humankind a chance to fight them off. Humans have also devised strategies to annihilate entire hordes of zombies with either fire or with bombs. Survivors find each other and get prepared for a war that's just beginning. That's how the movie ends. For more content, please subscribe. Hi, welcome back to Movie Digest.